Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachach Vadash. Double honors unto our apostles and our elders of GMS the Great Millstone who teach and rule well. Shalom, shalom. All right, this is Brother Nabali here with a lesson. All right, in this lesson, pretty much getting to famine. All right, famine is coming. All right, this is the article that just came out from End Time Headlines. All right, and it says supply chain shock appears to be on its way to America. All right, which this is prophesied to happen. All right, it's in the scriptures. All right, a famine is going to take place here in Babylon the Great. All right, and it says, according to a report from the CNN Business, a spiraling crisis in Asia fueled by the disruptions in the Middle East is raising alarms about potential shortages heading toward the United States. All right. Now let's look up in the Edamon online. Let's look at what a famine is. All right. Let's look at famine. All right. So here it says here famine, starvation, from the Latin fame's hunger, starvation, famine, which is of unknown origin. You see here it says famine caused the hunger. All right. So pretty much, famine, famine is starvation, a shortage. All right. Pretty much what a famine is. All right. So it says here, it says a spiraling crisis in Asia fueled by disruptions in the Middle East is raising concerns about the potential shortage heading towards the United States. It says gas stations across parts of Asia are rationing fuel. All right. It says hospitals face dwindling medical supplies. Consumers are stockpiling plastic bags, and factories grapple with packaging shortages. All right, so this goes to show you, man. When the Straits of Hormuz being closed down, all right, is disrupting, all right, places globally, all right. But ultimately, man, this is going to hit hard here in Babylon the Great. All right. It says gas stations across parts of Asia are rationing fuel. Hospitals face dwindling medical supplies. Consumers are stockpiling plastic bags, and factories grapple with packaging shortages. All right, so we see, man, this is a trickle effect all around the world, man. All right, this is what's happening all around the world. All right, it says these strains stem largely from the ongoing closure of the Straits of Hormuz amid conflict with Iran. It says which has curtailed critical shipments of oil, plastic, and other materials, with roughly half of the U.S. imports originated from Asia. Right. It says the ripple effect could eventually test American supply chains, man, which it will. All right. A famine is coming. Shortages are coming here to Babylon the Great, to the point where, rationing is going to start happening. All right. I believe there's a scripture that talks about that. How's the scripture go? Slakia. Let me look that. Let me look this up. Ration, food, and water. I believe. Let me see. Ezekiel 4 and 10. Let's see. That's it. Let's see if that's Ezekiel 4 and 10. Let's see. Slovakia. I believe it is Ezekiel 4. Yep, Ezekiel 4 and 10. It says here, in thy meat, which Hold on, let me highlight this. It says, "And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day, from the time from time to time. From time to time shalt thou eat it." Slakia. It says, "Thou shalt drink also water by measure." It said, "The sixth part of hin from time to time shalt thou drink." It says, "And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of men in their sight." All right, but the point is, all right, here is that rationing is going to take place here in the Babylon the Great. All right, due to shortages. All right, and that's what's already going on. Like we're just reading here. All right, rationing of gas. Let's get back here. All right, it says. It says gas stations across parts of Asia are rationing fuel. All right, rationing fuel. There's gonna be rationing of food, rationing of medical supplies. All right, there's gonna be this rationing of multiple things. All right, because of the shortage. It says these strains stem largely from the ongoing closure of the Straits of Hormuz amid conflict with Iran, which have curtailed critical shipments of oil, plastic, and other materials, which roughly half of the U.S. imports originated from Asia. It says the ripple effect could eventually test American supply chains. It says while widespread shortages have not yet materialized in the U.S., experts warn that prolonged disruptions could change that picture. It says petrochemical feedstocks and related materials are already tightening globally. It says you hear a lot about crude oil and the impacts to diesel and gasoline, but feedstocks and petrochemicals are in short supply too, said Angie Galita, the global head of oil and gas. It said major producers in South Korea and Singapore have declared force majeure on the commitments, signaling they cannot meet customer demands, man. You know, they cannot meet customer demands, man, because of the shortage, man. All right, because of the effects that the Straits of Hormuz, was having, upon the world globally. It says a common manufacturer also recently warned of surging prices due to the inaccessible raw materials. Um, It says here the S&P 500's indicator for global supply constraints has risen sharply, exceeding its long-term average for the first time in 3 years. It says investment strategist Ross Mayfield at Barrard highlighted heightened vulnerability, where the United States more exposed than we realize. He contrasted the situation with earlier tariff policies, noting it's much harder to extricate America from this cleanly. It said the U.S. remains somewhat insulated for now, as domestic energy production covers most needs, and only the small share of import passes through the affected strait. It says economists point out the current pressures manifest more in prices than outright availability. However, analysts caution that the plastic shortage could spread within 3 months, and aluminum constraints might force production cuts in sectors like autos after 4 months if the strait stays blocked. It says of everything now the length of this is everything now, Mayfield added. It says the negotiations stall and the oil supply loses mount. It says the coming weeks and months will prove decisive for whether Asia's crisis fully cross the Pacific. All right, so we see, man, that this is affecting, the Straits of Hormuz being closed, man, is affecting the world globally. All right, and eventually it's going to come and hit Babylon hard. All right, and the scriptures talk about, man, the scriptures talk about in Second Esdras, man, 6:22. All right, that the storehouse shall finally become the storehouse shall suddenly become empty. All right, let's get that in Second Esdras. Talks about that, man. All right, a famine is it's uh, uh how can I say it? What's that word called? Inevitable. All right, a famine is inevitable, man, and it's coming here to Babylon the Great, man. As it just said, man, it's going to reach the shores of America. 6:22, and it says straight to the point. It says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. All right, and storehouses are places that you store your goods. All right, that's where the storehouse is, man. Whether it's food, medicine, whatever, that's where they store your goods, man. All right, and it says suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. All right, meaning there's not going to be any produce. All right, there's not going to be any type of produce or type of production. All right, that's going to be in these storehouses, man. Why? Because of shortages, man, of famines. All right, and we see that the Straits of Hormuz, all right, are affecting things globally. All right, at a global point. All right, second Edges 15:5. Let's get that. Let's get second Edges 15:5. Verse 5. Right here. Let me see. Might as well just start at 1. This is second Edges 15:1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy." All right, and that's what we're doing. All right, we're speaking, the words of prophecy. All right, to Israel. All right, and this is prophecy, man. Famine is part of prophecy. It says, "Well, I will put in thy mouth," said the Yahweh Shai, "and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Right. The words of Yahweh Shai that are written in these scriptures are faithful and true. All right. It says, "Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee." All right. Incredulity, getting into the unbelief. All right. Those that don't believe that a famine is going to come, those that don't believe that Jacob's trouble is going to take place, those that don't believe that they're going to implement the MOTB. All right. Don't let that trouble you, man. All right, don't let their imaginations trouble you. All right, because this is going to happen to them. It says, "For all the unfaithful shall die in unfaithfulness." All right, those that are unfaithful, man, those that are faithless, those that don't believe, are going to die in their unfaithfulness. All right, here's the point. It says, "Behold, saith the Yahweh Shai, I will bring plagues upon the world." All right, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. There you go, man. All right. It says, "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works are fulfilled." There you go. All right, the hurtful works. This place is the wickedness, man. This place is polluted, man. That's why these things are coming upon here to Babylon the Great. All right, and notice it said, famine. All right, "I will bring plagues upon the world." All right, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. All right, obviously we see, man, that the Straits of Hormuz is affecting the world, man. All right. Famine is going to be a global thing, man. Not just here in Babylon the Great, but it's going to be a global thing. All right, but it's going to hit hard here in Babylon. All right, it's going to hit hard, man. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. All right, getting into famine once again. What is Ezekiel 5? It's like Ezekiel 5. Was it 16? Yep. This is Ezekiel 5:16. It says, "When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction." There you go. Which shall be for the destruction. Famine is a way of is part of the sword of Yahweh Shai. All right. And it says, "In which I will send to destroy you, and will increase the famine upon you, and will break your staff of bread," man. All right. So Yahweh Shai is going to increase this famine, man. And it's only going to continue to get worse. It's only going to continue to get worse, man. Why? Because of the pride, of the wickedness, you know. It says wickedness, has exceedingly polluted the earth, man. All right, that's why Yahweh Shem Shai is bringing this judgment. All right, that's exactly why. All right. Um, it says so. Reading on 17, so I will send upon you famine and evil beast, and they shall bereave thee, and the pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee. I, Yahweh Shem Shai, have spoken. All right. So along with the famine, Yahweh Shem Shai is going to bring these wild beasts. Okay. What does the scripture say? I have created. The scripture says that. Um, how does this, roughly praising spirits of vengeance? Roughly paraphrasing. You know, Yahweh Shem Shai got spirits created for vengeance out there, man. All right, the teeth of wild beast. All right, Yahweh Shem Shai is going to use these beasts, man, and mind you, these beasts, man, they're going to be famished too. They're going to be hungry. All right, so what's the only option, man? The only option is for them to go, after, the humans, man, and eat them. All right, that's the type of spirit Yahweh Shem Shai is going to put on these wild beasts. All right, the spirit of vengeance. All right, the teeth of wild beast. Man, matter of fact, we could get that. What is that? It's like I gotta look this up. Teeth of wild beasts. What is it? Ecclesiasticus 39 and 30. Let's get that. Ecclesiasticus 39 and 30. Ecclesiasticus 39 and verse 30. Let me see. Let's start at 28 and read down to 30. It says Ecclesiastes 39 and 28, it says there'll be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay sword stroke in the time of destruction. It says they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. All right. You see, so Yahweh Shem Shai got spirits that are created for vengeance out there, man. All right. It says fire and hell and famine. There you go. There's that word famine and death. All these were created for vengeance. You see, this is all the judgment of Yahweh Shem Shai, man. All right. It says teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, the sword, punishing the wicked to their destruction. You see, that's why all these things are going to come upon Babylon the Great, man. That's why these things are going to come upon the world. All right. This is exactly why. All right. Because of the pride, man. Because of the wickedness. All right. That Esau Edom, has pushed out there, man. All right. Let's get Ezekiel 14. Let's get Ezekiel 14. What is it in 13? It says, Slakia, let me highlight this. Let's get Ezekiel 14, we'll start at 12. It says, the word of Yahweh Shem Shai came again to me, saying, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, right? Then will I stretch out my hand upon it, and will break the staff of the bread thereof, and will send famine upon it, and will cut off man and beast from it. There you go. You see, so when you're doing wickedness, you come against Yahweh Shem Shai. You transgress his laws, or you trespass his laws grievously. Yahweh Shem Shai is going to bring forth that famine, man. One of the four sword judgments. Okay. This is all the punishment of Yahweh Shem Shai, man. He's bringing forth judgment here, man, through famine, right, through the sword. Okay, through death and destruction. All right. But we're not going to, if the elect is not going to have to worry about these things, man. The scripture says in the book of Isaiah, let's get that. Let's get the book of Isaiah, man. It says his servants shall eat. All right. So 2/3 have to worry about this, man. But the word third, man, they don't, Yahweh Bashim Shai is gonna protect us from these things, man. What Isaiah 65? What is it? 65 and 13. Here we go, right here. It says, therefore thus said Yahweh Bashim Shai, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed, man. All right. So Yahweh Bashim Shai, man, he said that his servants are going to eat. All right. So when this famine comes, man, his servants are going to be taken care of, man. All right. We're not going to be hungry. We're not going to be thirsty. All right, we're going to be rejoicing in that time, man. When Yahweh Bashim Abishai, brings forth the famine. All right, it's going to be a beautiful thing. It says, "Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of the spirit." There you go. All right, those 2/3 of our people, man, they're gonna howl for vexation of the spirit, man. While the elect, all right, are gonna sing for joy of heart, man. All right, we're gonna be happy in that time, man. It's gonna be a beautiful time, man. All right, let's get the book of Job 5. What is it? 20. Let's start at 19. It says, "He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles." Yeah. The 7, there shall no evil touch them. It says, "In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword." You see? So in famine, there's that word famine again, man. Yahweh Bashim Abishai is going to deliver us in that time, man, from famine. All right, let's read in the NLT. It says, "He will save you from death in the time of famine, from the power of the sword in the time of war." All right, it says, "Thou shalt be hid from the scourges of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh." It says, "At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth," man. All right, because we just read, all right, that, in the book of Ezekiel 14, I believe, it talks about how, pretty much the beasts of the field, are going to attack people. All right, but what does it says here? All right, it says here, "At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth." All right, so Yahweh Bashim Avshai is going to be with us in that time, man, in that time of famine, man. All right, we're not gonna have to worry about any of these things, coming upon us, man. All right, what does the scripture say? The scripture says that evil were created. The day of evil was created for the wicked. All right, let's get the book of Psalms. I got a few more scriptures I want to get into, and then we'll close out. Psalms 33. What is it? 19. Let's see. Let's get it right here. Boom. Let's start at Psalms 33 and 18. It says, "Behold, the eye of Yahweh Bashim Shai is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy." Right. The eyes are upon them that fear him. All right. Fear is the beginning of wisdom. All right. If you fear Yahweh Bashim Shai, Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to protect you. He's going to deliver you. It says to deliver the soul from death, and to keep them alive in famine, man. All right, so Yahweh Bashim Shai, like we just read, all right, in the book of Isaiah, all right, 65:13, "My servant shall eat." All right, so Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to look after us in the time of famine, man. All right. It says, "Our soul waiteth for Yahweh Bashim Shai. He is our help. in our shield. You see. So what does the scripture say? The scripture says that he's a very present help in a time of trouble. It says, "For our heart shall rejoice in him, because we have trusted in his holy name." There you go, trusting in his holy name, man. All right, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, that's who we're going to be calling on in these times of in these great tribulations, man. In the time of famine, it says, "Let thy mercy, O Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, be upon us, according as we hope in thee." All right, that's where our hope is going to be in, man. Our hope is going to be in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, hoping that he's going to protect us in these times, man. Okay, let's get the book of Psalms 37 and 19. Finish off with this. Psalms 37 and verse 19. It says, let's start at 18. It says, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. All right. It says, they shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. Man, that's beautiful. You see? Let's read here. All right. We're going to be satisfied in that day. All right. It says, but the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai shall be as fat of the lambs, and shall consume into smoke. Shall they consume away? All right. It says the wicked. No, that's pretty much the point. All right. Yeah, but the wicked are going to perish. All right. Like I just said. All right. Evil. Roughly paraphrasing. The wicked were created for the day of evil. You see? So, the wicked are going to perish, man. But hey, man, we're going to be satisfied, all right, in the day of famine, okay? So, famine is coming in hot, man, all right? And it's a beautiful thing to see these prophecies take place, all right? What does the scripture say? The scriptures say that his words are faithful and true, all right? And we're seeing these things, man. You know what we're seeing prophecy taking place. So that's beautiful. All right. So, with that being said, I just pray that this lesson, was edifying to you brothers and sisters out there. And once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, for putting on my spirit to do this lesson. And, double honors to our elders and apostles of GMS, the Great Millstone once again. All right. Until the next lesson. All right. This is Brother Nabala. Shalom, shalom.